I want to speak to the part of you that keeps checking the clock of life and whispering, "I'm late." Not late for a meeting, not late for a bus, late for happiness, late for love, late for your real life. That thought can sit in your chest like a small stone, heavy and quiet, following you from room to room. And even when you smile, a second voice tallies what isn't finished, what isn't certain, what isn't there yet. My dear, if you feel behind, you are not alone. So many tender hearts carry that private urgency, trying to be brave about it. But I'm going to offer you something gentle and radical. You are allowed to stop chasing an invisible deadline. You are allowed to come home to this moment and let it hold you. Right now, without forcing anything, let your shoulders drop one honest inch. Let your jaw unclench just a little. Let your breath find its own rhythm, like water finding the easiest path. You don't have to make yourself calm. You only have to stop arguing with where you are. The feeling of being behind can be loud, but it rarely tells the whole truth. Often it's not your life that is failing you. It's the story you've been taught about how life should look. A timeline you never signed, a schedule written in someone else's handwriting, pinned to your refrigerator like a rule. And every time you compare your day to that schedule, you feel the sting of not enough. But listen closely. Your life is not a checklist. Your life is a living thing. It has seasons, pauses, turns, and tender detours. It has parts that grow underground where no one claps. And there are times when behind is simply a name we give to a season of becoming. Here is a truth line to hold. You are not behind. You are unfolding. Say it again softly inside. I am unfolding. Not performing, not proving, unfolding. When you feel behind, your mind often tries to solve it with pressure. It says, hurry. It says, fix it. It says, catch up before it's too late. But pressure is not the same as power, and urgency is not the same as love. Love moves differently. Love says, let's be honest. Love says, let's take one kind step. Love says, I will stay with you even here. So let's begin with the first release. The stopwatch. That internal timer that turns every day into a test. That voice that measures your worth by milestones and ages and titles and boxes checked. You can thank it for trying to protect you, and then you can set it down. I release the stopwatch of my life. I release the belief that I must race to be worthy. If a skeptical part of you says, but there are real deadlines, you're right. Life does have responsibilities. You might have goals that matter. You might have people counting on you. Trusting timing does not mean ignoring your life. It means you stop punishing yourself while you live it. You can be devoted without being cruel. You can be ambitious without abandoning your tenderness. You can move forward without declaring war on yourself. Here's a practical inner shift, small but mighty. When the thought, I'm behind, appears, try exchanging it for, I'm in process. Not as a trick, not as a denial, just as a kinder description. I'm in process. I'm learning. I'm becoming. and I'm allowed to be here. Affirm this gently. I honor my pace, and I respect my unfolding. I honor my pace, and I respect my unfolding. Now, a gentle question, one you can answer honestly, even if the answer is messy. What if the part of you that feels late is not asking for punishment, but for tenderness? What if it's not demanding a sprint, but asking for a hand to hold? Sometimes we feel behind because we are tired. Sometimes we feel behind because we are grieving something we didn't name. Sometimes we feel behind because we've been carrying too much, too quietly, for too long. And the body, the heart, and the mind all speak up in their own language. They say, I need room. They say, I need rest. They say, I need honesty. There is nothing shameful about needing room. There is nothing weak about wanting a softer life. You are allowed to grow at the speed of your healing and your learning, not as a promise of an outcome, but as a permission to be human. Now let's talk about seasons, because seasons explain so much. There is a season for planting, and a season for tending, and a season for harvest. And there is a season when the soil looks empty, but it is not empty. It is preparing. It is restoring. It is making space for roots. Not all growth is loud. Not all progress is visible. Some of your most important steps happen when you are quiet enough to hear your own truth again. If you've been in a season that looks slow, it might be a season of strengthening. If you've been in a season of uncertainty, it might be a season of refinement. If you've been in a season of waiting, it might be a season of learning how to trust yourself. Here is another truth line. A pause is not a failure. A pause is sometimes the wisdom of your life. So instead of demanding a grand transformation, choose one small root action today. One small thing that honors the direction you care about. It could be sending one message you've been avoiding. It could be opening the document for 5 minutes. It could be taking a short walk and letting your mind settle. It could be cleaning one corner, making space where you are. Small root actions count because they keep you connected to yourself. Affirm this. Small steps count, and I can trust small steps. Small steps count, and I can trust small steps. Now we come to the heart of the title, Trust Divine Timing. Let's hold this phrase softly, without dogma, without pressure to believe anything you don't. When I say divine timing, I mean this. There may be an intelligence in life that you don't have to bully into cooperating. There may be a rhythm larger than your fear. There may be a way that things ripen, not because you earned them perfectly, but because you stayed present and willing. Trusting timing is not passivity. It's not sitting still with crossed arms, waiting for a miracle to land in your lap. It's choosing to stop forcing what isn't ready while you keep showing up with sincerity. It's releasing the grip, not releasing your desire. It's saying, I will do my part, and I will also allow life to meet me. Here is a truth line for the nervous part of you. I don't have to rush what is real. I don't have to rush what is real. So when your mind asks, why isn't it happening? Try a gentler question. What is life shaping in me while I wait? What is being refined? What is being clarified? What is becoming stronger? Sometimes timing isn't delaying you, it's aligning you. And yes, there are things you can't control. Other people's choices, the pace of certain opportunities, the way one door closes before another appears. But you can control the way you stay with yourself. You can control the meaning you assign. You can control whether you speak to yourself like a friend or like an enemy. Affirm this. Life is guiding me with patience, and I meet it with willingness. Life is guiding me with patience, and I meet it with willingness. Now let's create a simple chorus you can return to when you feel the rush. I release the race. I return to my own road. I release the race. I return to my own road. Sometimes the feeling of being behind is fueled by a particular kind of pain. Comparison. Comparison is sneaky because it pretends to be motivation, but often it is a thief. It steals your joy. It steals your focus. It steals your trust in your own timing. And it does something else too. It reduces a whole human life into a snapshot. You see someone's highlight and you get their private chapters. You see someone's announcement and you don't see their doubts. You see someone's result and you don't see their hidden costs. Here is the truth. You can bless someone else's timing without using it as evidence against yourself. You can admire without measuring. You can celebrate without shrinking. Truth line. Their chapter is not your sentence. Their chapter is not your sentence. When comparison spikes, try this tiny practice. Name one thing you are learning right now that you wouldn't trade away. Maybe you're learning resilience. Maybe you're learning boundaries. Maybe you're learning how to listen to your own needs. Maybe you're learning courage in small, daily ways. These lessons are not behind. They are precious. Affirm this. I celebrate others and stay loyal to my journey. I celebrate others and stay loyal to my journey. Now I want to offer a short story, not as proof, but as comfort. Two friends, Meena and Arjun, grew up in the same neighborhood. They both dreamed of making meaningful work, of building lives they could breathe inside. In their 20s, Arjun seemed to move fast. He changed jobs, moved to a new city, collected achievements like stamps. People praised his momentum, and Meena quietly wondered what was wrong with her. Meena's path looked slower. She stayed close to home for a while, helped her family, worked a job that paid the bills, and felt a small ache when she scrolled through updates. She told herself she was behind, and the word tasted bitter. But during those years, Meena learned something subtle. She learned how to speak with strangers and make them feel safe. She learned how to keep promises. She learned how to organize chaos into calm. She learned what mattered to her when no one was watching. In her 30s, a chance opened, a role that needed exactly the kind of steadiness Meena had grown. Not flashy, not immediate, but real. And when she stepped into it, people said, "You're so good at this. It's like you were made for it." Meena smiled because she knew She wasn't made overnight. She had been becoming. Her timing hadn't been late. It had been true. And Arjun, he didn't fail either. His fast path taught him what he loved and what he didn't. Eventually he slowed, not because life punished him, but because he wanted depth. Both timelines, different, both valid. The point is not whose life looked better on a certain day. The point is that life can make sense in ways your anxious mind cannot calculate. Hold that softly. A different timeline can still be a beautiful life. A different timeline can still be a beautiful life. Before we move on, I want to name another layer of this experience. The way behind can sound like a moral judgment. As if time itself is a courtroom and you are always on trial. As if the years are witnesses and the verdict is written on your face. That is not truth. That is a harsh story, and you don't have to keep living inside it. Sometimes the deepest pain isn't that something hasn't happened yet. It's that you've been blaming yourself for the timing of your life. You've been treating your own path like a mistake. You've been replaying decisions with the hope that guilt will turn into a time machine. But guilt can't give you back a season. It can only steal the season you are in. So here is a gentle practice that asks for courage, not perfection. When you notice the sentence, "I wasted time," try adding 3 words to the end of it. While I learned. I wasted time while I learned. I stayed too long while I learned. I started late while I learned. Those words don't erase your regret. They soften the knife. They remind you that you were not idle. You were becoming the person who can hold what you want. There is also the quiet pressure of other people's expectations. Even loving people can hand you a timeline without meaning to. They ask, "So what's next?" They ask, "Are you seeing someone?" They ask, "When will you settle down?" They ask, "When will you decide?" And if you already feel tender, those questions can land like a spotlight. But you are not obligated to perform a life for anyone's comfort. You can answer with simplicity. You can say, "I'm taking it step by step." You can say, "I'm focusing on what feels right." You can say, "I'm letting it unfold." In the Louise Hay-inspired spirit, let's bring in forgiveness, because forgiveness unhooks you from the past. Not a dramatic forgiveness that requires you to approve of everything that happened. A practical forgiveness that says, "I release myself from endless self-punishment." Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's choosing not to reopen the wound with your own hands. Try this softly. I forgive myself for not knowing then what I know now. I forgive myself for not knowing then what I know now. And if the skeptical part of you says, "But I should have known," notice how cruel that sounds. Of course you didn't know. You were living. You were doing your best with the tools you had in that moment. The wisdom you have today is the proof that you have grown. Now let's talk about control, because the feeling of being behind often comes with a desperate need to control the future. If I can plan it perfectly, maybe I won't get hurt. If I can figure it out right now, maybe I can finally relax. But life isn't a lock that opens with enough thinking. Sometimes thinking becomes a kind of pacing in a small room. You keep circling the same worries, hoping for a new door. What helps is not more circling. What helps is a doorway back into the present. A doorway you can step through again and again. Here is a simple inner ritual you can use anytime, morning, night, or in the middle of a busy day. You don't have to do it perfectly. You can do it while making tea, while sitting in your car, while lying in bed. First, you name what is true. I feel behind. Second, you add compassion. And I am still worthy of kindness. Third, you choose one intention. Today I will take one steady step. That's it. Truth, kindness, one step. You're not bargaining with life, you're partnering with it. When you partner with life, you begin to notice the way timing works like a river. A river does not rush. It does not panic because it hasn't reached the ocean yet. It moves, it curves, it finds openings. Sometimes it slows to widen. Sometimes it narrows to deepen. And even when it seems to pause, it is still moving, still shaping the land. You are allowed to move like that. You are allowed to deepen. You are allowed to curve. You are allowed to widen. You are allowed to arrive in your own way. Now I want to speak to the perfectionist part of you, the one that believes you can't begin until you can do it right. Perfectionism often disguises itself as standards, but underneath, it's fear of being seen as not enough. So you wait. You over-prepare. You keep polishing. You keep thinking, when I feel ready, then I'll start. But readiness is not a feeling that shows up like a gift. Readiness is built by action. Tiny, imperfect, honest action. So if you feel behind, here is a permission that might change everything. You are allowed to be a beginner again. You are allowed to take the first step with shaky hands. You are allowed to learn in public, even if public is just one friend, one teacher, one small attempt. Beginnings are not embarrassing. Beginnings are brave. If you're carrying the idea that everyone else has it figured out, let that soften. Most people are improvising more than they admit. Most people are learning as they go. Most people have doubts they don't post. And even the people you admire have chapters they would never wish on anyone. So be kind to yourself. Be kind enough to be real. Here's another gentle question, simple and grounding. What is one area of your life where you can choose good enough today? Good enough to send the message, good enough to show up, good enough to practice, good enough to rest, good enough to keep going. Good enough is not giving up. It is releasing the whip. There is also the story that you must do everything alone. That story makes behind feel even heavier because it turns every delay into a private burden. But you don't have to carry your future by yourself. You can ask for help. You can ask for guidance. You can ask for a listening ear. You can ask for a second set of hands. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Sometimes divine timing shows up through people. A kind mentor. A friend who introduces you to something new. a stranger who says once, intense that stays with you. A book that lands in your lap at the right moment. Not as destiny carved in stone, just as life offering support when you are open to receiving it. And sometimes divine timing looks like a no that protects you, a closed door that saves you from an old pattern, a delay that keeps you from settling for what would shrink you, a redirection that feels inconvenient until you realize it moved you toward something truer. It's okay if you can't see the blessing right away. You don't need to force gratitude. You can simply stay curious. You can say, I don't understand this yet, but I am willing to learn. Let's anchor that willingness with a small reminder. You can trust your life to guide you one step at a time. You can trust your life to guide you one step at a time. Now, a micro recap to keep you steady. You are not on trial. You are learning, not failing. You can forgive your past self. You can partner with the present. You can begin again, imperfectly, and you can ask for help when you need it. When you feel behind, it can also be because you're measuring progress only by external outcomes. But there are inner milestones that matter. The day you stop arguing with your feelings. The day you set one boundary. The day you tell the truth kindly. The day you choose rest without apologizing. The day you stop chasing someone who won't meet you. The day you return to your own life. These are not small. These are foundations. If your life has been rebuilding, then of course it looks different than someone else's highlight. Rebuilding takes time. Rebuilding is sacred. Rebuilding is a kind of quiet courage. So if you want a new way to speak to yourself, try this. Instead of I'm behind, say I'm building. I'm building stability. I'm building clarity. I'm building trust. I'm building the capacity to hold what I want. Building is not late. Building is wise. And one more thing, my love. Time is not always linear in the way your mind imagines. Sometimes you circle back to an old dream with new strength. Sometimes you return to a place you thought you outgrew, and you see it with kinder eyes. Sometimes the lesson repeats, not because you failed, but because it is deepening. Life is not a straight line. It is more like a constellation. The stars are scattered, and then one night you look up and the pattern appears. It was always there, waiting for you to see it from the right distance. So if you are looking at your life and only seeing scattered pieces, breathe. You may be in the part where the dots haven't connected yet. That doesn't mean they won't. It only means you are still gathering the story. When the behind feeling rises, you can try this quiet permission. I don't need the whole picture to take a faithful step. I don't need the whole picture to take a faithful step. And if you want to steady your mind with something practical, choose a single daily touchstone. A sentence you say while you wash your hands. A moment of gratitude before you open your phone. A gentle check-in before you answer messages. Not a rigid routine, just one small point of return that reminds you, I am here and I am enough for this day. Little touchstones create trust. Trust creates steadiness, and steadiness creates momentum that doesn't burn you out. Now, sweet one, let's speak to the fear that sits underneath behind. The fear that you will miss your chance. The fear that you took a wrong turn. The fear that you waited too long, and now the door is closed. You can't always know the whole map, but you can know the next kind step. And a life is built out of next steps, not perfect certainty. So here is the kind promise. You can begin again without drama. You can begin again without punishment. You can begin again without needing to become a different person first. Truth line: gentleness is a strategy. Gentleness is a strategy. When you're gentle with yourself, you become more honest. When you're gentle with yourself, you stop wasting energy on shame. When you're gentle with yourself, you can actually hear what you want. And when you can hear what you want, you can move toward it with steadiness. Here is another inner shift. Instead of saying, I have to catch up, try saying, I get to align with what matters to you. Align with what feels clean in your conscience. Align with the kind of relationships you want to nurture. Align with the work that feels meaningful, even in small forms. Align with your body's need for rest and rhythm. Alignment is not a race, it's a return. Affirm this. I choose alignment over urgency. I choose alignment over urgency. Now, I want to give you a small list, just a handful of gentle anchors you can use when the behind feeling flares. Not rules, not demands, anchors. First, name the feeling without turning it into a verdict. I'm noticing the thought that I'm behind. Second, place one hand on your heart or simply soften your attention there. I'm here with you. Third, choose one kind next step. One message, one page, one glass of water, one tidy surface, one moment of prayer or reflection. Fourth, speak one true sentence. My life is allowed to unfold in its own timing. Fifth, release comparison for 1 hour. I'll come back to my road. You don't have to do all of them. Even one is enough to shift the tone inside you. Now let's make a vow together, a vow that protects your spirit. I will not abandon myself just to feel on time. I will not abandon myself just to feel on time. If tears come, let them be welcome. Tears are not proof that you are broken. They are often proof that you are telling the truth. And truth is the beginning of peace. Sometimes people worry that trusting timing means they'll lose their edge, lose their drive, lose their chance. But the drive that comes from shame is not sustainable. The drive that comes from love is steady. Love doesn't need to scream. Love knows how to keep going. So if you are building something, build it with kindness. If you are learning something, learn it with patience. If you are waiting for something, wait without turning waiting into self-attack. This is what trust looks like in real life. Not a perfect mood, but a faithful posture. Let's return to the center again. You are not behind. You are in a chapter. And chapters change. Micro recap, just to anchor you. You released the stopwatch. You honored seasons. You trusted timing without giving away your agency. You loosened comparison and returned to your own road. You chose alignment over urgency. Now let's weave a few affirmations into your bones, the way warm light fills a room at dawn. I am patient with my unfolding. I trust my timing. I am safe to take one step at a time. And if you want one simple sentence to carry into your day or your night, let it be this: my pace is not a problem. My pace is not a problem. There may still be moments when you look around and feel that old pinch. That's okay. You don't have to win against it. You can simply notice it, soften, and return. Return to your breath. Return to your values. Return to your one next step. Return to the kindness that makes everything easier to carry. You are not a machine that must output a certain result by a certain date. You are a person, a living, learning, luminous person. And your life is not late. It is alive. If you're tempted to bargain with time, promising yourself you'll be worthy once you achieve the next thing, notice that bargain and loosen it. Worthiness is not a prize at the end of a race. It is your starting place. You are allowed to enjoy small goodness before the big answers arrive. A warm drink, a clean sheet, one sincere conversation, a few minutes of quiet. Let those be evidence that your life is already happening. And when you make a mistake or lose momentum, you don't have to declare a setback a prophecy. You simply return gently to the next kind choice. Each return is a vote for your future, cast without drama or shame. So tonight or this morning, let your heart hear this blessing. May you be released from the burden of imaginary deadlines. May you be protected from the cruel stories that comparison tells. May you feel the quiet confidence of your own path beneath your feet. May you trust that what fits your values, your growth, your readiness can meet you as you keep showing up. May you take your next step with tenderness. May you rest without guilt. May you begin again as many times as you need with love. And as you move forward, remember the chorus. I release the race. I return to my own road. You are not behind, my dear. You are on your way. And you can trust the timing of a life that is learning to love itself